Marriage is a lifetime commitment to God and not to the person. Here, we encourage each other to be the women that God meant us to be, wants us to be, and whatever He does is besides the point. So today, we talk about setting boundaries. So, why is it important to set boundaries? Well, first of all, you need to make sure your partner knows how to navigate around you. You also need to know how to navigate around your partner. Once you've been together for years, this might sound so simple, but sometimes we forget. Sometimes we take advantage of our spouses and we invade their private space, and then they get angry and they get antsy and we just don't know why. So, it's important to set boundaries, your own personal boundaries. For example, if you like to take a bath. I like to take baths every night. That's my personal time. That means everybody in the house needs to know, hey, Patience needs to take her bath. She needs her alone time. So what about you? Do you make it clear for everybody that you need alone time? You need alone time. Sometimes we're really caught up in being mom, in being wife, and doing all these duties, but it's really important to self-care, because when you self-care, that's when you take a deep breath, you breathe, you become you reflect on the day, you reflect on your goals, you reflect on a whole bunch of stuff. So you need to set boundaries. How do you set boundaries? The very first thing is communication. What are your communication skills? Super important. What are your communication skills? How do you communicate? Super important. How do you communicate? Are you the kind of person that just screams and shouts when you want to when you want to put your point across? Or are you the kind of person that is patient enough to explain what you need done? Are you patient enough to listen to the feedback coming to you? So super important. Our words, the way we use our words, the way we communicate, both verbally and non-verbally, matters. And to be honest with you, sometimes that non-verbal communication speaks louder and speaks more than the verbal communication. So when you answer him and you say, hey, listen, I'm not in the mood of watching a movie tonight, what's your body language like? What's your posture like? What are your facial expressions like? Are you saying it in a way where he's interpreting a different thing? Let's watch how we communicate the things we want to communicate. On this topic about communicating effectively and knowing how to talk, how to use our words, we're going to use the example of Abigail in the Bible. So let's take example of Abigail from the Bible. Abigail was a wife to a very wealthy man, but he was very rude. And so King David sent word to her husband because he wanted provisions and food for himself and his army, but her husband responded very rudely. So King David was actually very upset and he was going to go and attack her husband. But what she did is she went and approached King David and she soothed the situation by talking about how King David was very loyal and such. So this now prevented King David going to attack that household. So when Abigail got home, she didn't, tell her husband what happened. It was just the day after now when her husband found out about it and he got scared and stuff like that. So the point here is that we have to really develop good communication skills, not only for our husbands, not only towards our husbands, but for everyone around us. Are you the kind of woman, are you the kind of wife that goes about putting out the fires of your husband? That's what we want to be. That's where we're trying to get to. If we're so busy, upset upset at our husband for whatever he did, you're not going to find that time or the energy or the empathy or the compassion or the wisdom to know that, hey, listen, this thing is going to affect the whole unit. You need to communicate effectively, not only for yourself, but for your husband, not only for your husband, for his circle of influence, his friends, his co-workers, whatever the case is. Because when you're in a relationship with somebody, it's not just about you and him, it's about everybody around you. So another one, now this one, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I am of the belief that whenever you're in disagreement with your husband, you should never go to bed with the issue unresolved. So whatever it is that happened during the day, I mean, it's common. You know, when you're in a relationship with somebody, I mean, fights are inevitable. But you want to make sure you're communicating effectively and you're not allowing this issue to go to the next day. So how now do you talk about an issue when you're boiling and when your partner really doesn't want to hear anything about it? That's hard. That's really hard. So I would propose that before you go to bed, there has to be a consensus, or there has to be a meeting point of what you guys do before you go to bed. Do you guys talk about your day? How was your day? How did this go? If you're angry, that conversation is probably not gonna happen easily that night. But if it's a practice of something that you do on a regular basis, it's going to force a conversation to happen. So for you, the wife, you have to be in the habit of insisting on this conversation, even though you're upset, even though you're not upset. Because we women, we have a tendency when we're upset, we don't want to talk, we just want to go to bed. And women, we're known for giving silent treatments. We want to cut this out, family, because at the end of the day, when you give someone silent treatment, it's only going to bite back. Because what if you're done with the silence and then your partner is just going about his business and going about his day without conversation? So back to square one, we have to make sure we don't allow our issues to go into the next day. Because when we allow these situations to go into the next day, it becomes a breeding ground for the enemy to come in and work against the relationship. They say that the enemy is like ranging and walking up and down the earth looking for who to devour, looking for what to destroy. So when you go to bed without resolving the issue, you've opened the window, you've put a crack to the relationship so that it's gonna get harder now to get back on track.